Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And we are back with Tracy Clairmont, our certified hypnotherapist, and so much more. She's going to, of course, enlighten us again for another half hour today to talk more about hypnotherapy, the benefits of it, and how her sessions can help you both in person and in Zoom. And right away, just want to point out it's hypnowithtracy@yahoo.com. They can reach you there.
Yep, that's how you reach me.
Beautiful. So just introduce yourself to everyone to start, and then we're going to go to some areas of focus for today. Thanks for sending those notes.
Yeah, so I am Tracy Clairmont. I am a certified hypnotherapist and a lifestyle coach. I am in beautiful Western Montana. I have an office here. I've lived here most of my life, except when I was away from my college education and whatnot. I do hypnotherapy and life coaching over Zoom as well for those people who can't make it to Montana. And the easiest way, like you said, to reach me is through my email, hypnowithtracy@yahoo.com. And my name is spelled Tracy.
Perfect. And so let's get into right away about the important task of loving ourselves. Something as simple as that can really help us heal and heal the world and heal so many different problems that arise. Would you mind sharing your thoughts on self-love?
Yes, when I was thinking about this podcast last week, I was kind of thinking about what I'd like to talk about. And I had gone home and my husband was away at a conference. And I sat down in my living room and I turned on the TV just to kind of relax. And the world news was on. Now, when my husband's home, he's usually in charge of the controls and I kind of come in and out. But I do know that when I come into the room, if the world news is on, he will change the channel because I have a hard time with the world news watching
Processing all that, it's a lot of negativity, I mean,
so
and
much,
bad.
so much, so much violence and fear and hatred and things that it is unsettling for me. So he'll just change the channel. So probably so he can relax and not have to help put me back together because of something on TV. But anyway, I was there by myself and I thought I can watch the news. I can do this. I can watch the world news. And the first story was, this is last Wednesday. It was about an apartment complex bombing in the Ukraine. And oh my goodness, they showed the building. It was just awful. And then the next one, again, this was last Wednesday, was about a school shooting in Denver. And part of
Did
it,
you hear what just happened today?
I have not looked at the
Yeah,
news.
I got a news break on my phone. I haven't read it, but they said there's a school shooting in Nashville, Tennessee, and I think some kids. I think it was a pre-K to sixth grade. I didn't get to read it, but
Oh,
that's just happened today. Yeah.
exactly. So these, and probably what's unfolding right now in this moment, parents going to this
Oh,
school, looking, waiting to see if their kids are okay, just so much. And it was fear,
ah,
hate, and violence. And then at the end of the world news, they had another story. And that story was about, and you may have seen this on social media, but it was a story about these two kindergarten boys who came to school wearing the same shirts and they matched, right? And they were super excited about it. And I guess the teacher must have told the moms that their little boys were super excited about their matching t-shirts. And then these moms got together and decided to have them matching each day as like a surprise for them, right? So each day they were going to school and they're like, yeah,
aw.
t-shirts on. And it showed these little boys and what it did for them. And the last picture that was shown was um, they were not just hugging, they were like holding each other, these two boys with the just smiles. And it was a picture of the opposite of what the whole first part of the news was. It was a
They
picture
always do that. They end with a sweet little cute segment. They do.
of, and thankfully so for people like me and
Mhm.
probably the rest of the world. But it was a picture of love and connection and sameness. It was the opposite of what all that other news was, right? So then it just started me thinking about, okay, so that's what heals the world. The love, the connection, the sameness. Um, how can we all start today healing our world so we don't have all of this other awful, awful experience happening? So it really got me thinking about all of this. And I always come to the same conclusion. We can only heal ourselves. We can get support and we can get guidance and we can go to people to help us heal.
Yeah.
But really, the only people we can heal is ourselves. So taking on that, with the overwhelming task of changing our world, where do we start? Well, we start with our. So I thought, okay, so how do we talk about starting with ourselves? Because I don't want to just talk in big Pollyanna kind of ways, right? Like, how can we actually do this? How can we put this into action? A mistake we often make is
Yeah.
trying to heal other people, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many times do people get into relationships and they want to help their partner heal, and then they're not able to do it, and then they end up feeling resentful or betrayed or whatever comes out of that process. Well, the reason that fails is because you can only heal yourself. You can provide support, guidance, everything like that, but the person has to be responsible for healing themselves. So in this line of developing self, developing unconditional love and acceptance for ourselves so that we can be the best human being going out into this world, you know, how could we start today?
Yeah.
And then that brought me to a very important rule of the mind. I am a lifelong student of Marissa Peer. She is an amazing hypnotherapist.
Mm-hmm.
She developed the rapid transformational therapy
Therapy.
model of hypnotherapy. She's amazing. One of the things she teaches are several rules of the mind that she has research developed over the course of 30 plus years of doing hypnotherapy, transformational hypnotherapy. One of the rules of the mind that is so, so important for us to remember is that our minds respond to the pictures we make and the words we say in our head. Okay. Our minds, they're there to help us survive. So whatever we're
Yeah.
telling ourselves, it's going to act on it.
Mm-hmm.
So our pictures that we make and the words that we say are so, so very important to be aware of. So now if we think about, we say in our minds things to ourselves that we would likely never say to another person. Like we would never say the things that we tell ourselves in our minds about ourselves to our friend, right? We would be a pretty horrible friend if, because we can be pretty harsh and critical of ourselves on the inside.
Always.
Yeah. And so Marissa Peer, she does this exercise where she says that picture that you have a roommate. You have this roommate, it's just you and this roommate that live together. And every morning you get up, you look in the mirror, your roommate's right next to you. Your roommate's saying, oh my gosh, look at you. You look awful. What are you going to wear? You've gained weight. You look terrible at everything. What are you going to wear? And that roommate's right there. Then you go downstairs and you make breakfast, and your roommate's saying, you have no healthy food in this house. No wonder you look the way you do. Everything's junk. You are so stupid. You
Mm-hmm.
never buy healthy food. And then this roommate goes to work with you, and then you're driving in the car, and they're sitting right there in the passenger seat with you. And they're like, you're going to be late. You should have left earlier. You're always late. Well, you don't even know where you're going.
Negative Nancy's. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're such an idiot and you can't do anything right. And then you go to work and that roommate's looking over your shoulder. And that roommate's saying, you're doing everything wrong. And, you know, they're going to know that you don't know what you're doing eventually. They're going to find out your secrets and you're going to get fired. And maybe not today, but tomorrow, you're just faking it. And you're somebody different. And then you go home, that person's still with you.
Oh,
And
I don't like this roommate.
exactly. And then you go to bed and that roommate's laying next to you and they're reviewing everything you did in the day and marking your failures, your so-called failures, and then telling you it's going to be even worse tomorrow. You know, what would you do if you had a roommate like that?
Oh my gosh, I would kick her out or him out. I couldn't handle it. I had a mother that was a negative Nancy, and I love her. She passed about 6 years ago, but she was always a Debbie Downer, always negative my whole life. And no matter how I tried to make her positive and change the spin of the conversation, it was always woe was me, woe was. I'm used to negative people in my life. I have been. I grew up with
Oh,
that. Um, but at the same time, I couldn't change her. Couldn't change
right.
her. They are who they
Exactly.
are.
Exactly, because you can only change yourself, right? And
Hmm.
then when we do have people in our lives who are negative and are, you know, kind of sucking the energy out of us, they're like energy vampires, right? They suck
Yeah,
all the positivity out. You know, if we have enough self-love, we can move away from that person, like we can protect ourselves from that. We can know that we don't have to listen to all of that. Each person is on their own journey, they're evolving at their own
pace.
place, but
Hmm.
you know, but we don't have to subject ourselves to that. And if we have enough self-love and confidence and acceptance for our own selves, we won't subject ourselves to that, right? So we will move away and we'll attract more positive energies. When we
That's
put
it. The negative Nancy's suck you down and they suck the life out of you.
Mhm.
Sometimes you don't realize it.
Exactly. And sometimes we are our own worst negative Nancy,
Hmm.
right? Sometimes we are, I went through having this roommate be a part of your day, but I can guarantee there's people out there who have even harsher talk going on in their heads than what
Hmm.
than what I was
Yep.
saying, calling themselves awful names, horrible things, reminding themselves repeatedly that their failures
Not good
are
enough and all. Yeah.
not enough, not enough, not enough. Absolutely. So the good news about all of this is that if we can feed ourselves negative words, we can consciously change that and feed ourselves positive words, right? We can make a point, even if you have to think, that's all lies, saying positive things to me, it's not true. Even if you have to start there. So, like Marissa Peer says, tell yourself a better lie.
Yeah.
It's certainly not true, all these horrible things that you're saying about yourself. So, if you have to think of it in terms of lying to yourself and saying that you're worthy and
Hmm.
lovable and good and deserving, then do it. But replace those words in your head
Positive.
and those pictures. Paint a better picture, a more successful picture. That's how we start shifting ourselves to a place of unconditional love and acceptance. And it's just like I've said before, when you're on an airplane and that oxygen mask comes down, they say, tend to yourself before you.
Put on first. Exactly.
Same thing with this, you know, tend to yourself first so that you can be in a place, a very healthy, phys- physically healthy, mentally healthy place that comes from an energy of self-love and acceptance before you help others, because that's really how best we can help others. And then if everybody starts this shift, then it would change the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had I had an experience and I was just thinking about all of this for days and days and days. So this weekend, we started our junior high school rodeo season with
Aw.
12-year-olds. So we were away at a rodeo, and I had my 8-year-old with me, and we went down to the pool, and she was swimming, and there's a lot of kids in there, and it was really noisy, and I was just kind of sitting off to the side, but I was watching what my 8-year-old was doing, and she befriended a little girl who was maybe a year or two younger than her. And this little girl was trying to learn how to dive, and the dad was sitting on the edge of the pool, and he was trying to tell her and coach her and things like that. But then my daughter kind of took her under her wing and started showing her how to do it and telling her she could do it, right? So after a while of watching this, I saw that the little girl started to do it, and her confidence was lifted. And I was like,
Aw.
oh, such a beautiful thing that my little girl is doing. And
Yeah.
I love that. Well, then towards the end, um, that family was getting ready to leave, and then by that time I was in the pool with my daughter, and the dad came over, and it was interesting because this was a dad who he was had tattoos all over, and I noticed because one of his tattoos was a gun that was on his hip as though it was in the waistband of
Hmm.
his pants. He had face tattoos and all this kind of stuff, and he was the kindest person to come into contact with.
And
But
he thanked you.
he came over and he not only
Mm.
he put words to exactly what he was thanking my daughter for. He said, I really appreciate how you showed her that she could do that and how you showed her how to do that because you helped raise her confidence. And I could see that. And
I
he
got
said, I think
goosebumps. That is so beautiful.
that's beautiful. And then he even took it a step further and he said, I appreciate you. And then he said, I love you guys. And he went and he got up and left. And I'm like, whoa, the universe just brought us the perfect example of what I'm talking about.
Hmm.
And it was just, I looked at my daughter then and she was beaming.
Beaming, yeah.
And that was her self esteem in the making. She was feeling great about herself. That was her unconditional love and acceptance for herself.
Hmm.
And it was just such a beautiful example. And then I was telling my husband the next day, we were swimming at like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and my husband was sleeping. So the next morning I was telling him about this experience. And then he was busy doing things. We were getting ready to head to the rodeo, and he left for a while and he came back. And I said, where'd you go? And he said, oh, I went down to talk to the ladies who made the breakfast, the motel breakfast, um, this morning. I wanted to tell them that I appreciated everything they did because they were working really hard and had a lot of people waiting for food and whatnot. But I wanted to tell them that it was so good and I appreciated it. And that was another example. Like my husband heard my story about this man offering gratitude and love, and I don't even know if he was aware of this, and I didn't
Trickle down effect, but no, he's passing, paying it forward. Yeah.
prompt him to go do the same. And that energy that I'm talking about, that's that energy that truly has the ability to heal the world, right? Yeah, but it all starts with ourselves. So I absolutely encourage people. Maybe you could make a list of 5 words,
Gratitude.
negative things that you
Hmm.
say to yourself, and then on the other side of the next column, on the column across from it, put different words that are positive and self-serving so that you can really identify the negative words you say and then have a plan for what to replace those words with because your brain learns by repetition. So if you practice saying those positives as opposed to the negative, I always encourage
Goes a
people.
long way. Yeah.
We're so hard on ourselves.
Yeah, but little things, little gestures of kindness, I always make my joke. Maybe it's not a joke, but like when I used to work in the New York City a lot, everyone's in a hustle and a bustle, and I'm going into the pharmacy. No one holds the door for you. No one, it's just like rude. I love kindness and hold that door for someone, make their day, pay it forward. And it just says so much. You see a smile from someone, even when I'm driving at the stop sign, you let that person go. And it's like sometimes you go back and forth like 3 times, like, there you go. And it just like, thank you. It means so much. It just cheers you up and it just sets a tone that will
It
affect you
does.
so positively in anything that you're doing the rest of that day.
Right. And it'll put you in a place where you want to, like if somebody extends you kindness, then you want to extend that to others, and when I was referencing these images on TV from the world news, I was seeing the hate, the fear, the violence, the disconnection, the difference. Disconnect and difference
Yeah.
creates fear in people. So the better we can, when the better we can build a feeling of connection and sameness. And I don't mean sameness as we all have to be exactly alike, but sameness from the perspective of the human experience. You know, we're all born into this world perfect, pure love and light. And we do have our diversity, and I love diversity. I love different ethnicities and cultures and unique characteristics that make us our individual self. But we need to recognize that that sense of humanity,
Yeah.
kind of sameness,
Wow.
and sameness in the human experience, you know, so that we won't be afraid of difference, we won't feel disconnected, and we won't let our fears turn to violence. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's
Little
what
goes a long way. That was great. Little positive affirmations and kindness in general go a long way.
really, really does. And we have to start with ourselves. That's really where we need to start. Yeah, nobody's perfect. We can't expect ourselves to be perfect, you know, and changing our perspective from failure to learning, you know.
Yeah.
We all have room to grow and learn.
Yeah. So, I mean, to give the best, I should say, love, or just to give love, I guess, the best way to others, what would you say? It's just to find the love in yourself first and then pay
Practice,
it forward in a
practice.
sense. Yeah.
Yes, practice, 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 extending love and grace to yourself and shifting the pictures that you paint and the words that you say to yourself, shift them over to positives and expect expect the best. And I don't mean to sound like again like Pollyanna thinking or anything like that. But if we expect something to be horrible and we paint a picture of it as being a miserable experience, I can
Yeah.
guarantee it's going to be a horrible, miserable experience. But if we can put a different picture in our minds and use different words and believe that it can be better than what we've experienced in the past, then we can move forward with that kind of energy instead of the other. You know, I tell my kids all the time. Sometimes my 8-year-old will wake up and she'll just be crabby in the morning and she'll be like, "This is gonna be a horrible day." And I'm like, "Well, if you think it's gonna be a horrible day,
You will make it what yeah.
yeah, so how can we change that? How can we make it a better day?" And sometimes she's like, you know, she'll go along with me. Sometimes she's like, "No, it's gonna be bad." So I can't influence her thinking all the time, but I do my best to just remind her that what her expectation is how it will be because she's telling her mind that that's what it's going to be. So
Oh,
paint a different picture, use better words or words that are positive and serve you better.
awesome. I love this. So self-love, taking it another step because the more love you give to yourself, the more you learn to love, the more you can give to others. And it's like a whole trickle down effect, or it's like a circle, right? It just keeps going and kindness, a kindness circle.
Yes, absolutely.
Seems so basic, and people might say, wait, what? That sounds so like kindergarten because my son's in kindergarten and we do kindness circles. But guess what? Those little principles and values that you're instilling in your children are so important because of the same values and the same little things that they're going to be doing as they get older each and every day.
And some of those most basic things, like telling ourselves good things about ourselves,
Hmm.
are sometimes the biggest challenges, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, because you know, we come into this world pure love and light and then we have experience and experience and experience that shapes and molds our perception of ourselves. So it's not
Hmm.
necessarily an easy thing to change all that thinking, but thankfully it is something that we can do. If we can feed ourselves negativity, we can do the opposite and feed ourselves positivity.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you for this positivity talk today, Tracy. All right. Wow. How did you want to sum up today's conversation?
Oh, I just wanted to invite people to email me if you're interested in hypnotherapy or lifestyle coaching at hypno with Tracy at yahoo.com. That's
Hmm.
HYPNOWITHTRACY. at yahoo.com. And I also want to invite people to, if you just want to send me an email and ask me or suggest something for me to talk about, if you'd like
Good
to hear
idea.
about some kind of topic on a podcast, then I'd be happy to do that as well.
Great. Thank you so much. Pleasure having you back with us today, Tracy. And
Thank you.
love the story. I love the positivity and self love and the
Mhm.
children. Your daughter, oh, how sweet. You must be so proud of her. Oh, oh my goodness. Wow. What a compliment. You have a fantastic day. You're clearly doing something right, right? We're not all experts, but that's amazing that your daughter knew to help someone like that and it made them feel so good. And it made her feel good in return. Love makes you feel loved and gives others love. And there's just a good positive circle that keeps going around and rounds. Well, anyway, Miss Tracy, thank you so much for joining us today. And we'll connect next week, okay?
All right. Thank you,
Thank,
Jill.
thank you, sweetheart. Bye bye.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you can now listen live on the MyTuner Radio and online Radio Box apps for iOS, Android, and the Amazon App Store. Or check us out online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com or search Podcast Business News Network on onlineradiobox.com/US so you don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.